Hello and welcome to Regional Roundtable. Regional Roundtable is a program of the Greater Derry Londonderry Chamber of Commerce aimed at exploring economic development issues here in Derry and the surrounding towns. My name is Will Stewart. I'm president of the Chamber and your host. Our guest today is Town Councilor Thomas Cardon, who also serves as chair of the Derry Economic Development Committee. Welcome, Councilor.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Well, it's definitely a topic of interest to the Chamber, and really it's kind of the reason for being for this entire show. So we're very glad to have you here and talk about this topic.
Great to be here.
Maybe we can kind of start at the beginning. What is the Derry Economic Development Committee? How did it get started?
Okay, well, it was back earlier in the year I decided that we needed to do something for economic development, and we've talked about a developer for a couple of years, and still nothing has been done. And I thought, well, maybe
staff position, you mean?
A staff position,
okay.
Yes, yeah. And nothing was done, and I thought, well, maybe we can do a few things and just form a temporary committee that will look into the issues and see what we can do. And most importantly, I just wanted to come up with 3 to 5 things that we could do that would help out with economic development that we didn't have to spend any money on. And the town council went along with that, and we did. We formed the committee. And there's presently 9 of us on the committee, and we had a couple of goals. The number 1 goal was the town website. So I think Sue Hickey, the interim town administrator, had been working on that anyway. And what happened was that was one of the first things that our committee came up with, and I mentioned at a town council meeting, and Sue just picked up with it and ran. So. And I guess evidently at the end of this month, hopefully it'll be live.
Oh, nice. So
that was one of the things that we wanted to do. The other one was to have a Facebook page and use social media, and our Vice Chairman Mark Flatters has been working on that. So that is working. And the other one is to do what we can do to market dairy. And there were 7 or 8 things that we had under marketing to do. And I'm working on a brochure that we would like to get out, and hopefully I'll have that done by the end of the year.
Okay, yeah, definitely like to talk a little bit more about those coming up here. But first, I was wondering if you could tell me, economic development is one of those terms that can be a little vague, and I think it tends to mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people sometimes. Just curious to know, what does economic development mean to you and to the committee?
Well, for me, it's just to keep and attract businesses to Derry, and to have a vibrant economic business climate in Derry. I think that's the most important thing that we can think about and that we can do and we can work on.
So you mentioned that there are 9 people on the committee.
There's 9 members, yeah.
And it's a volunteer committee.
It's a volunteer committee, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So who's on the committee, and what kind of backgrounds and skill sets did you look for when you're putting this committee together? Yeah,
well, I'm there. I'm chairman, a former high school teacher. Councilor Dimmick is also on it. Councilor Dimmick has done just about every job that you can possibly think of. He's pretty interesting, and. We had Richard Tripp, who was a recently retired engineer, and then we have some pretty new faces. We have Chris Black, who works in high tech, and as he says, he has his fingers on the pulse of high tech, which to me is a great asset to the committee. And then another new member, Steve DiMattia, who also works in high tech. Andrew White, you might know him. He's a commercial real estate broker and has worked on some pretty large investment projects. So he's another great asset to have on there. And we have Terry Pastore, who's an attorney. Mark Flatters, who's on the planning board. He's also on the energy committee. And then lastly, we have George Sioris, our town planner, who is a wealth of knowledge, and he's really done a lot with that position in the town over the years.
Well, that's great. It sounds like you definitely have a very diverse,
absolutely, yeah,
diverse group of people there with a lot of varied background and experiences that I think will sounds like will serve the town well in a very variety of industries. So, what curious to know when we talk about economic development, I think sometimes it always helps to know where we're wanting to go when we're starting out a plan. So kind of what is, I know you mentioned wanting to make the town more business friendly, of course, but do you have kind of an overarching vision for what you and the committee would like Derry to be?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happened was we came up with the ideas and the things that we wanted to do. We presented those to town council. We started working on them, and a lot of the things that we've done, we've just about accomplished. So, I mean, really, our next goal is, and I mentioned at the last council meeting, is to make it a permanent committee. And I think that's the most important thing that we can do with it right now, because
it's temporary right now?
It's a temporary committee right now. Yeah, it was just to come up with 3 or 4 ideas or 5 ideas to see what we could do for economic development. And once the committee got going and started working, everybody's doing a lot of different things, and so it's time to really take the next step on the committee.
Okay. Well, with regard to some of the steps that the committee, I guess, has taken and is taking, you mentioned the website, the Facebook page, a brochure.
A brochure, yeah.
Okay.
Terry and George Stewart, so they're going around talking to various businesses around town. They're getting input from them on what to do. We want to promote the 79E tax break for the downtown area, which is a tax break that will allow people that own businesses in the downtown to put money into them, and they won't be taxed on it for 5 years.
As an incentive to get people to reinvest in their property?
Yeah, as an incentive to have people reinvest in their property. So that's a pretty big thing. And then there's also the Rockingham Economic Development Committee that lends out money.
Right, the Derry revolving loan fund that they administer.
Yeah, so we want to promote those things.
So who's your target, as it were? May not be the best word, but if you're for all these efforts, I mean, who are you trying to reach and convince and persuade?
Well, I don't think we've really gone out to persuade anybody yet, because again, it was just kind of to get things together and see what we could do, and I think that question is going to be something for the future of the committee. I think is to what we're going to do and how do we move that forward to go out and recruit people. We have sent some letters out to various companies to see if they were interested in coming to Derry. So
well, that's good. I think it's something we've talked about a little bit before, and I think there are definitely when you talk about economic development, a lot of different targets. You need a kind of multi-pronged approach, and
that's right.
It's not a one-size-fits-all. What might resonate with would-be entrepreneurs is a different tack than you need to take with out-of-town developers or out-of-state corporations or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, when you're talking about putting together Facebook pages and brochures and websites. I mean, those are obviously very outward-facing, public-facing documents.
Right.
You want to put the town's kind of best face forward.
Right.
So what do you and the committee see as like the town's? What are our biggest assets? What are you looking to promote? Oh,
I think we have a ton of assets. When I started working on the brochure, I started writing down a list of all the things that we have, and really in no particular order. I think the first thing is we have a downtown that most of the areas around us do not have. I know Wyndham is putting together a pretty big project, but that's not being put together around a downtown. So we've got a great downtown. We've got a great location for Derry. We're a little over an hour to the mountains, less than an hour to the beaches, and an hour from Boston. Location, yeah, and even more location, 20 minutes from Manchester Airport. Along with that, we're adjacent to 93, which is going to be, they'll be expanding that in the very near future in the Derry area. And I mean, aside from that, we have a lot of recreation to do. There's hiking trails, there's the Frost Farm. We're rich in history. We have, East Derry, there's a lot of good history over there. 3 golf courses, a campground. I think we have a really good infrastructure. I mean, we all around have a great town, and we just need to continue working on it.
I would agree, and I know that I think you kind of hit the 2 main points there. We have the location and the infrastructure.
Right.
Here that we're close to everywhere that people want to be. Boston and the kind of the talent pipeline and the universities coming out of there.
Yeah.
And all the recreational amenities that we're near. Mountains, lakes, seacoast, and of course all the local quality of life attractions here. I was in a listening to a presentation that an economic development type down in Northeastern University was talking about some of the top issues that when those who are selecting where to maybe expand a company or relocate, kind of what are the factors they look at, and things like taxes are always going to be important, and energy costs and things like that. But they said also it's quality of life is key, because it's so the number one thing is talent, acquisition and retention. You got to be able to have the people that you need to do what you want them to do. And people, what do people want? They want a good quality of life, which is good schools like we have, and all the recreational and cultural amenities. And
absolutely,
we definitely shine.
Yeah, we do. We have a great quality of life here. I mean, that's why I've been here for 25 years. I love it here.
That said, no place is perfect.
Right.
What do you see as kind of the town's biggest challenges to overcome?
Well, I'll go back to taxes. I think that's probably that's always been on the mind of everybody, and that's a difficult one. As we all know, and I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon. Hopefully with getting more industry in here, hopefully that will help. I mean, we've certainly, we've run water and sewer up south on 28, and hopefully we can start to, develop those areas and get some businesses in. Where the flea market used to be, there's a huge parcel of land. I just can't imagine what it would be like to have some type of a big business go in there and just be I think it'd be a real positive for the town. The other negative I think we have is, there's, especially for the downtown, is absentee landlords. And, there just seems to be the same number of stores there that are, that are vacant. And, boy, we'd like to see those, somebody go into a couple of those. I would agree with that assessment, and particularly with the the kind of the absentee landlords and some of the vacant storefronts that are there. But I do see some positive signs coming. I know that when the electric bike shop on Broadway, they left, that space was filled almost immediately. I know. It was
with the Grind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rail Trail Cafe. They moved in there, and I was talking recently with the new owner of Darren's music shop.
Right.
And he purchased. He has a number of other music stores and in Massachusetts, and I was asking him, because the chambers were putting together an economic development guide to help promote the region, and so I asked him, as I've been asking a lot of business owners here who have recently opened or expanded or purchased a property or a business here, why here?
Right.
You could go anywhere. Why here? And he said it has, to echo a number of your earlier points, he said, Derry and Londonderry, really this entire region, kind of the southern tier of I-93, is just perfect from a location standpoint. And he said, particularly for him, who he does a lot of shipping and transporting of items. He said, being so close to I-93 and Boston and kind of the northeast hub, and go north-south, and also I-90 and go west and east. And he said it's almost perfect.
Yeah, good.
So I think figuring out what types of businesses this type of location is perfect for, and targeting those.
Exactly. And one of the things when we talk about business, one of the things that we talked about with our committee is we talked about trying to get another couple of really nice restaurants in downtown. I mean, we've got some really good ones there now.
Sure
and
do.
Derry has a lot of good restaurants.
Yeah,
I'm a former chef instructor, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I really appreciate the restaurants that we have in town. And those are the types of businesses we'd also like to lure in.
Right, and those that's the draw. I think a lot of things that sometimes it can be a chicken or the egg scenario. People say, well, I would come downtown if you had more stuff to do. And you talk to businesses, they'd say, well, we'd come downtown if you had more people.
Right.
So I think that we're kind of on the right track. That we've had some businesses that have maybe made a little bit of a leap of faith, but I think it's paying off, because
they have.
I was in the Grind, to use that as an example again yesterday, and it was 9:30. On a Thursday morning, and it was packed.
I know.
And I think people are hungering for places like that, and Dre and Cask and Vine and those type places, in addition to some of our places that have been around, like Mary Ann's for quite a while, and still attracting people here. And you're right that this is the only downtown for miles and miles around, and I meet people all the time who they're driving in from Hampstead, they're driving in from Chester, and Londonderry and Wyndham, just to be able to have that downtown experience.
I agree, yeah, and hopefully we can continue working on that.
It's a real asset for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I was going to ask too, with regard to the committee itself, as we talked about, it's a volunteer committee. So how much, in the grand scheme of things, can a volunteer committee accomplish? Do you ever see? You mentioned the town's been exploring the past couple of years, hiring an economic development staff member.
Right.
Where do you see that going?
Well, I mean, realistically, I'd like to say not a lot, but after seeing what these guys have done the last 4 or 5 months, I think they can do a lot. I really do. Certainly they can make recommendations, to the downtown, to the town council, and town council would have to do that. But I guess I just see a lot of energy with the group, and I can see them, doing a lot of different things. And it's pretty interesting, because I was on the energy committee when it was first formed, and I've kind of seen, how it's gone along. And there was a period of time when when they first started, that like we are now, there's a lot of optimism and people doing things, and then it slowed down for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden it picked up, and they're doing lots of projects. They're very instrumental in helping get the solar panels on the old dump, and so they've worked on a lot of different things. And I actually sit on their committee, so I see how those committees go, and I just and I think they're a great committee, and I think the Economic Development Committee can do the same thing.
Not being a native of New Hampshire, I'm always very pleasantly surprised at the the nature and quality of volunteers that will step up here to assist their towns and nonprofits, and even like the chamber, that you don't always see in other parts of the country, and it is really impressive to the quality of people that you're able to get and the work they're able to do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Derry has a lot of people that are just willing to step up and work and do things for the town.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wealth of experience and expertise here too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
To take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah.
Also wanted to, of course, like to offer the chamber's assistance, however we can. And do you have any thoughts on how the chamber might be able to assist the committee in your work?
I say just keep doing what you're doing. You got an ad for economic development in your magazine, and you're obviously out there talking to businesses. I think that's the most important thing that you can do, and let the town council know, and maybe keep an open line to the Economic Development Committee on various things that they can do.
Absolutely. Definitely a two-way street.
Oh, absolutely a two-way street, yeah, yeah.
So I guess kind of in closing, I'm curious to know if you were to look ahead 25 years into Derry's future, how do you envision the town as a result of what the Economic Development Committee is doing and the council, and where do you see the town going?
I usually don't do this, but I'm going to answer a question with a question first.
Okay.
Okay. And I want you to tell me what year you think this was.
Okay.
Okay. The planning board hired a town planner to offer suggestions on how to save the downtown area from further decline and economic malaise. When do you think that was? I talked about the downtown.
The word malaise was made popular by Cardon in late 70s. So
Very good.
I'll say 1980.
Yeah, well, close, 1963.
Oh, wow, not too far off.
So that was 52 years ago, but yeah, you were, yeah, exactly. I'm going to read the rest of this because it's actually kind of humorous, so I don't want anybody to take offense to this.
Is this a newspaper article? Or?
This was actually out of a book, The Road to Derry, I think.
Okay.
The Road to Derry. And so I guess this other guy, this is a member of the planning board. More importantly, he preached the town needed to set priorities that were achievable, which is really good, and I think that's really important. And one suggestion in 1965 was a planner was to bulldoze most of the buildings in their places along downtown with a row of 6-story structures resembling stark urban architecture found in Russian cities.
Wow.
Fortunately, they didn't do that, but I thought that was kind of a curious idea about this. So, where do I see the town going? I mean, obviously, it's this has been a long time. 52 years back, they were worried about economic development in the downtown, And there's been a lot of smart and really talented people that have worked on it. And I'm just, me and our group, we're just part of a line of people that are going to continue that. And hopefully this is something that we can build on. And so there's been a lot of challenges over the year. And one of the things I did was I started looking back into into the history, because I've been here about 25 years. And there's a couple of headlines here. One was, councilors back concept to develop plans. That was 91, and town-owned land eyed for business development. That was 94. So, a lot of the same things that we're doing 25 years ago. What would I like to see in 25 years? I'd like to see the upper end of 28 that goes down into Salem. I'd like to see water and sewer run down there. I'd like to see that area developed. Certainly the downtown, I'd like to see more storefronts filled up, and some type of development in the Abbott Court area. And hopefully we're going to get together pretty soon with the council. We're going to put an RFP out for that property there in the downtown, and see if we can get that going. It's interesting because I live on the east side of town, and that hasn't changed that much over the 25 years that I've lived here. I mean, I make that drive, and it seems like it's pretty much the same thing. But I just like to see that we have a lot of businesses here, and hopefully the tax rate will stable a little bit so that businesses are willing to come. I certainly see 4A coming through. I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully before 25 years. But it sounds like maybe 2020 or 2022, and I think that will help with the development up there on that end of Derry.
Well, it's I think if those headlines or and those quotes are any indication, it shows that economic development is a nonstop issue. And
absolutely, it's a nonstop, and I think that's the important part of it, is that that we just don't stop and say, well,
things are okay. We're done.
Yeah, it's okay. We're done. We haven't done anything, and one of the things too, and I don't know if the council is going to do this, but hopefully we're gonna get some type of an economic person to to market the town and be an economic developer. If it's a part-time position, I don't know. We've kind of the council has kicked that around, but I think it's probably time to do something like that.
Well, it's one of those things, like you said, you can't ever rest on your laurels.
Nope.
And so I'm, on behalf of the Chamber, thanks to you and the entire Economic Development Committee for taking the baton from your predecessors and carrying it forward.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
The next generation. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Thomas Cardon for being our guest today on Regional Roundtable. Yeah. And thanks to you for watching this episode of Regional Roundtable, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.